Hey, everybody, we are back. I'm Joel Goldberg. He's Casey Wright, and we're in different spots. It's the way it goes. I don't even think I saw you last month. I don't know if
Been a
whatever. It's the
while.
summer. We're busy. I'm sure all the
Over
people were clamoring. Where are Joel and Casey?
nonstop. I'm hearing it nonstop around town.
Can't stop. Like my man, my inbox is full with all of those things. Good to see you. We'll catch up, in person eventually, even though we live right by each other. How things
One of these
going?
days. Good, good. Been busy. Summer's supposed to be relaxing, but we've been slammed, and
That's good.
kids just went back to school, so I know my wife is happy about that. I
Yes.
don't know. It changes my life some, but probably hers more so. But no, things are good.
Yeah. Yeah. A little break for Corey. Okay. So I thought for this month, I want to talk about, and it's relevant. I love to tie things in with what's going on with the Royals, but I love that at the trade deadline, and part of what I'm talking about in my newsletter was the really interesting and for a lot of people heartbreaking trade of Freddie Fermin because he was such a beloved figure in the clubhouse and the community. But it got me thinking, like, he was more of a role player than a star. And when you look
Sure.
at all the moves the Royals made, they added a lot of pieces without making blockbuster moves. Whatever your profession, we all love the blockbuster. We all love that big sale, that big purchase, that big hire, the purchase of the home, whatever it is. And the role player, though, all the guys that the Royals got were not superstars, but they all serve an important role in their push to go to the playoffs. And that's certainly true for every company. Look, not everybody can be the Casey Wright of their company.
Hey, we can't all be the face of the Royals like you behind or on the camera either. That takes everybody to make you go around, right?
Nor should anyone or most people want to be Joel or Casey because
I
we would both
recommend it.
admit that we aren't able to do what we do without the people that maybe don't get as much of the attention. The role player. A team does not win without those role players. There's, I think, Casey, a misconception that those role players sometimes are lesser than, and sometimes they're paid less, sometimes not. You cannot win without those people. How about in the quote unquote real world, the importance of the role player?
Oh, I mean, it's everything. Back to baseball. I've maybe quoted this before on this before, but I know I've talked to people. A few years ago, I read a stat, and it was every playoff Major League Baseball team. Nine of the top 10 highest paid guys did not make the playoffs. And the 10th guy, I want to say it was Giancarlo Stanton that year, who was hurt the majority of the season. So the top 10 highest paid people in baseball had no impact on whether or not their team made the playoffs. So it's the sum of the parts is what really matters, and the role players, and they're the glue guys. That's true for baseball, for football, basketball, but it's true for business too. It's why you got to treat the receptionist like the CEO. Man, I think that's one of the truest sayings of all time because sometimes it's the person that may be deemed as the lowest on the totem pole that holds it all together for sure.
I mean, when I walk into chief of staff, you're not the first person I'm seeing. Actually,
No,
sometimes I'm there and I don't see you at all, by the way. But I know
true.
that I'm going to be walking in right away and I'm going to be greeted by a friendly face. And that is going to represent every step of the way that I take into the office is going to represent the culture of chief of staff. How do you celebrate the importance of those roles?
Yeah, good question. Because there's not a single person who is less valuable than so, it's easy to look at the quarterback and the point guard and the starting pitcher. Sometimes you don't see the backup catcher, the bullpen catcher. Just some of those. You see the numbers of the top producer without the marketing support, without the administrative support, without the HR group. None of those big producers, those big players would be possible. You have the best quarterback in the world, but you don't have a good left tackle. You're going to be struggling. That's why left tackles are paid like quarterbacks now. But if you don't have the time, you don't have the resources, you can't get done what ultimately is the goal is to win and to progress and move forward. But we try and celebrate it every day. We have a Monday morning meeting that we cover all sorts of different stuff every single Monday, and we always have a gong moment. People ring a gong if they make a placement, they close a deal. I know we're not new to that. There's all sorts of organizations that do, but sometimes our gong moments are little things, and it's not a producer, but it's somebody that got a positive review online. It's somebody that had something great happen in their personal life. And you got to find ways to celebrate wins that sometimes aren't as evident as that star player or that star producer or whatever.
Yeah, and sometimes last thing we'll wrap it up, and I don't know if there's a correlation to what again I always like to call the real world, the non-baseball world. It's all real, of course. Is that those role players, so to speak, I think that there could also be a little bit of confusion or a misperception that that role player is some kind of an entry level job, and it might be, it might not be. Point being, in the baseball world, oftentimes the manager and leadership of a team, they don't trust someone in that role that is new because they may be someone that is clamoring for more of whatever it is, more money, more playing time, more exposure, more being on the front lines. And oftentimes it's those that have proven themselves that accept that role, but also can be available to do other things when you need them to. Sort of those Swiss Army knife types, so to speak. And I don't know about in your world, but the acceptance of a role, the understanding of a role, the understanding in sports, you've heard this since your football days and before that, next man up, next person up. What about that for you too? Because sometimes it's a growing position. Sometimes it's, no, this is where you're meant to be and you're really, really good at it.
Yeah, it's interesting that you say that that's not necessarily an entry level person. I mean, we started this off by talking about Freddie. Freddie's a veteran. Freddie for me has been around for a long time, but he's considered a role player because he's not the starter. He's not the all star. He's not. He's not the one that's headlining the wins every game. Those role players, they don't need the accolades as much. Sometimes the star player, the star performer at work, they can be a burden because they need the accolades. They need the attention. I'll point to Briley, my assistant here. Briley, she makes this ship move. Like without Briley, I would be handcuffed in so many different ways. She's been around for a long time. By no stretch of the imagination is she entry level, but people hear, oh, she's an assistant. I mean, she's entry level. No, it's a role player, but it's a very critical role. It's an essential role. She's not getting the public notoriety that some of the rest of them on the team are, including myself. But we would have no option, no ability to get some of that notoriety and those accolades without the work that she's putting in every single day. But there's people like that in every single organization, every team, and some of those quote unquote star players wouldn't have the opportunity to be a star without those role players for sure.
And it goes deeper than just that. Briley is a superstar, by the way. Kendall, who does so much for you and for me as well, she's a superstar. Maybe not everybody knows it. They're not necessarily looking for that as well, but as an employer, as a teammate, you could recognize those people, incentivize them to understand that, yeah, you may not have all the spotlight, but we love what you're doing. We can't live without you. And that goes beyond the 26-man roster in baseball. It could be the strength and conditioning coach. It could be it could be the physical therapist, the massage therapist. It could be the accountant. Somebody's got to write those checks, right? And
Sure.
on and on and on. Those are the people that are worth celebrating every single day. And when you do that, you end up with a better culture. So we'll continue these discussions. I would ask everybody this question: how are you celebrating your role players? Because it matters. Casey, maybe we'll do this next month in person, but good seeing you
Hopefully.
virtually.
You too. Take care, guys.
Bye, everybody.